JT Crowley is Talking Books. On the show, you'll hear from emerging talent and seasoned veterans from around the world.
Hello, I'm JT Crowley, the host of Talking Book Show on Web Talk Radio. And today I would like to welcome back K Cooper-Elliot for the umpteenth time, everybody, to talk about the third book in the Templeton-Miller Dynasty Series, Victorium. Now, to understand the narrative being told in this book and some long-standing characters, to understand them, you really do need to read the books in sequence to get the grip, to get the storyline. Otherwise, it's just not going to flow for you. So you need to read them in sequence. And you can find that sequence on the written introduction that goes with this podcast. And also, you can also find it on her webpage. And I'll give you the details of that webpage later on. So, okay, this is quite a journey you've been on with this Dynasty series. So would you like to come and join me and so that we can talk about it and give the audience a deep insight as to your latest book? Okay, come and join me.
Hi, John. I love this Templeton-Miller Dynasty. It's just once you've written one book, you've got to continue on to the next book. The story just flows and you want to know what's actually happening. So this journey, you're right, I'm enjoying it. Really good. It's good to be on it. Yeah.
See, I told you. And she's got more books. She's like a typewriter on fully plugged in, everybody. Believe you me. For those of us that can remember what typewriters were, we'll stop there. So, okay. Let's not open the book just at the moment, because I don't want to go into that straight away. For I want you to remind us who you are, what's this book about, and why have you written and published it? So just give us a brief insight as to what this book is about, the story behind the story, and who you are and why you wrote it.
Right. Well, the story is about Sebastian Dupont, who is being adopted into a world of wealth, and is wanting to follow into the film industry, but not as an actor. He wants to go into management. Is ambitious, is courageous, but also there's a dark side to the story where you've got hidden enemies who are jealous, who want him, and they create lots of obstacles for him. And the story is funny, but it's quite scary at times. It does want you to turn the page because you need to find out what's going to happen to poor Sebastian. And it involves all the regular characters of Theo James Miller, Helena Templeton-Jones from the previous books, the Society, which is the underworld that Theo James runs. So if I tell you any more, then we'll kind of ruin it. But the reason I love this type of book is because it's exciting for me to write this. And, having a career in the past where I was an executive and then I've had to retire because of MS. My world came to a stop. So to have this excitement back into my life is quite good. It gives you something to live for. So for me, my book writing is just an hobby. It's an hobby, and it is for me to enjoy, and it's for the readers to enjoy.
And what you don't know, everybody, is that she actually wrote a lot of these stories years ago when she was sitting in boardroom meetings and got bored listening to the people around the table. She was scribbling notes in her pad about these stories. Didn't I spill the beans there? Yeah. She's had these stories in her head and on notepads for a long time, everybody. And now she's just putting them out there. So, AK, there are 20 inspirational, rousing chapters in this latest book of yours. Um, and you consider this to be your best. And I'd probably agree with you. Now, I don't want to give the overriding storyline, the plot, the narrative here, everybody. So we're not going to go into all the 20 chapters. We will sample a few chapters, just enough to give you a flavour as to what you can expect from this exciting, thrilling book, the third in the series. If you want to know more, go to the written introduction that accompanies this podcast, but go to her webpage, www.akcooperelliot.com, and there you'll find out more about her and all the books she's written. She writes more books than just this series, believe you me, everybody. There's loads there. Go and have a look. So let's focus on certain parts of this book, AK, and let's take the reader on a journey here. Well, when I opened the book, AK, I saw the prologue and I thought, wow, this is an opening gambit, and I think we need to go there first. And, you've put the opening storyline, in a film studio in Los Angeles. You introduce us to Martha Thomas Colonel, an actress, and wife to David Jackman, Grace. That's David Jackman Grace. He's a film director. There are grumblings on the set about Grace. But more importantly, David takes a phone call from Sister Agnes Boone from the orphanage of St. Bells. Talk us through this prologue here, AK.
Yes, well, Martha and David have been trying for years to have a child, and unfortunately, it never happened. So they plowed lots of money into the orphanage, for children who were being abandoned and, didn't have parents. And one day they were hoping to get a phone call to say that there was a newborn baby coming into the orphanage. It happened. Sister Agnes Boone did actually call them, and Peter Thomas Colonel actually came into the orphanage a day old. So Martha and David leave the studios and go rushing down to the orphanage to see this little newborn baby, and that was it. They immediately fell in love with him. They were going to take him home, and basically they named him Peter Thomas Colonel, and that's the start of Sebastian's journey into the world of glamour. Because obviously their house is in Bel Air, they are millionaires. They don't have to, scrimp and scrape, as we call it. He's got everything, and that's how it starts.
And I'll let you tell everybody why the name is Sebastian later on.
Yes.
I'm saying nothing, everybody. This is a real page-turning book. So, okay, let's slide down the book to chapter 3. And Atrium Apartments, Camden, London, the 4th of July, 1959. That's the setting. And it's 11 o'clock in the morning, UK time. You divide this chapter into what I would describe as 5 segments. In fact, most of your chapters are set out in this fashion. We've got the Atrium Apartments, London, 4th of July, 1959, 11 a.m. Sylvester House, Camden, London, 4th of July, 1959, 12:30 p.m. Sylvester House, Camden, London, 5th of July, 1959, 10 a.m. And then the Atrium Apartments, Camden, London, the 6th of July, 1959, 11 o'clock in the morning. You seem to like the 11 o'clock in the morning slots.
Yes.
And of course, the very, very important, if you look at all the other books, the Banquet of Tranquility. This is important, everybody, within these books. And we're here on the 6th of July, 1959 at 12:30 p.m. So what are you revealing to the audience, the so-called, within these so-called segments? Where's the story going so early on in this book?
Yes.
Spill the beans.
Oh, right. Well, obviously, as Sebastian, who is Peter Colonel, he becomes Sebastian Dupont because as a little boy, he used to read comic books, which were a massive thing in the 50s. And the two popular characters were Sebastian the Wonder Dog and Professor Dupont. And they were his favourite characters. And he wanted to be named Sebastian Dupont if he went into the showbiz world. So he actually got a job at EZM Radio Studios through Theo James Miller, who was a personal friend of Martha and his father, David. Basically, while he's at EZM, Earl Westwood, an aging film director, he spots him and absolutely becomes besotted with him. So Theo James notices this and he gets his society involved to protect Sebastian. And one of the ways of protecting Sebastian, because this is a little part-time job he has at EZM, while he's at college, rather than sending him to college in America, they send him to college in London. So they're purchasing the Atrium apartments near his college. And so Martha and Sebastian fly over on this particular day, the 4th of July, 1959, to go and view the apartment because it needs designing. And this is where he meets the young designer, Philip Aston Sylvester, who owns the House of Sylvester. The House of Sylvester is the foundation for everything. He actually comes to meet Sebastian. They both kind of like one another. They redesign the building, the atrium, and Philly brings his team in, but Sebastian's into blue, so everything's blue. He wants everything blue in that apartment. So once they've been there, and Sebastian and Martha go and visit him then at the House of Sylvester, where he sees them making furniture, doing his latest fashion creations. Martha leaves them both because she can see that there's a bond forming between them. So she goes off shopping, but she's not really going shopping. But that you have to read the book to find that out. Sebastian starts feeling a little bit queasy because his feelings for Philippe are like running overtime for him. So Philippe, because he's nearly fainting, Philippe gets him into the car with his chauffeur and they take him to Radiant's house. Radiant's house is the big mansion or what belongs to Philippe. And that is where Sebastian and Philippe actually bond, shall we say. After he spends the night at Radiant's house, Sebastian then goes back to the House of Sylvester as a man, as I will say, and meets his mother. His mother can see the change in Sebastian. He becomes more confident. He's more, fashion aware. He's like a new man. And so is Philippe. Martha and Sebastian then go to the Banquet of Tranquility, where Martha actually, drops a bombshell. While they're having lunch in this posh, beautiful hotel in London, Martha drops the bombshell. So it's basically chapter 3, as we call it, is running through when Sebastian comes to London to see his new residence, his new apartment. He meets Philippe. They have a bond together, and then he's with his mother. Then, where she actually drops a massive bombshell for him.
I told you these stories are going to be gripping everybody. She sure does know how to write a powerful book with very, very interesting storylines threaded throughout. And the twists and the turns, they're all over the place. They're all over the place. So let's skip along now to chapter 5. Now, both you and I agree that this will be a good chapter to talk about.
Yes.
It's quite a meaty part of the book. And most of the chapter is set in Christmas 1959 in Los Angeles. But the last part, we're off to Templeton's house in Zurich. So this family is very, very wealthy, everybody. They've got houses in Los Angeles, in Switzerland, London, you name it. They're not short of a bob or two. And I must say, the conversation between Sebastian, Theo James Miller and Howard Levy is very interesting. And we've got Sebastian's parents return home for Christmas. We have quite a revealing conversation from Martha and Sebastian here. We've got a Christmas Eve ball at the family home in Los Angeles. Oliver Montreux's appearance. Ooh, the plot thickens. A gay love scene. AK, fill in the gaps here for us.
Yes. Well, it begins because Sebastian returns from London for Christmas, but his parents are not there because they're working abroad, filming, but they do return the next day. So Sebastian gets back to Marley House first, and then next day his parents arrive. In the meantime, he has a visit from Theo James Miller and Howard Levy regarding Earl Westwood. Earl Westwood has been in London, and obviously he's now got back with his ex-partner, which is Jack Dremming. They feel Sebastian needs protection against these two. So they come to visit Sebastian to inform him that he's having protection, he's having security. So the society are going to be sending bodyguards for him. So that is in itself is quite worrying. So when his parents come back, Sebastian, doesn't mention this to them because Martha and David already know. They're personal friends, Theo. They know every step of the way what his plans are. So it's not necessary for them to talk about it. Martha is suffering from diabetes. So she's looking drawn, she's looking tired. So Sebastian's worried about her. She's thinking that going on a rice and oat diet is going to solve the problem of her diabetes and not taking her insulin, which is a massive mistake. So Sebastian devises his own milkshakes for her of, banana and that type of thing, to boost her up, which protein drinks basically, which he does. Martha's getting ready. She's on this particular day, she's actually doing the name cards for this massive Christmas Eve party they're having. And Sebastian's helping. He receives a telephone call from his long-term friend, Chelsea Nobleman. She's got some people who are staying with the family over Christmas, and she wants to invite them as well to this party. Luckily for Sebastian, two people have got flu, so they're not attending, so he can fill the places. And this is the family called the Montroses. Oliver Senior, he owns Conception magazine. Oliver Montrose Jr. is a journalist for Good Morning Gazette. So obviously you've got the newspaper people, which are these. So this is another connection to Theo James as well. At this party, when it arrives, Chelsea sees Sebastian after so many months away from him because he's in London, Chelsea's in New York. So they've not seen one another. And her boyfriend, who's, they're going to be living together, Chelsea nobleman, he's called Taylor Parker Carr. His father owns a massive retail store in New York. So absolutely mega money. She introduces Sebastian to Oliver Jr., Oliver Montrose, and his world is knocked upside down. There is so much, attraction there between the two. It's like a magnet. He doesn't know how to deal with it. So he runs out onto the terrace, and Oliver's there in the darkness, in the shadows, having a cigarette, and he approaches him. And that's when the Montrose Dupont become one. So then you see, we start again where he only has a few days together there after Christmas, and then he has to go back to New York. And Oliver goes back to New York, but Sebastian goes back to London. So it's that Christmas is very special.
All your characters are very cleverly woven together, aren't they? They all know each other. This is a power game, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's like how can I say it? It's like a pyramid. At the top you've got the Templeton-Millers, then it weaves down, and then you've got Sebastian then, which is another part of that pyramid. The Jackman Graces, and they're all know one another. They're all somewhere. It like feeds to the top of this pyramid, which is Theo James Miller, and it all starts from Turner.
It does, and that's why, everybody, you need to read the books in sequence. Otherwise, you're not going to get this book at all.
Yeah.
You need to start right at the very beginning. Now, let's jump to chapter 8.
Yes.
The story exposed here is gripping, it's engrossing. The scenes are set in New York. I love New York. And we're in Zurich, and we're in Los Angeles. We have a dinner party in New York, a conversation between the Theo James Miller and the Howie about Earl Westwood and Jack Dremming and their sexual carrying-ons, missing cameraman. A New York park, Oliver spying, gun training for Sebastian in Switzerland. You sure know how to stoke up a good storyline here, don't you?
Yes.
What's going on?
Right. Well, it's Easter 1960s. Sebastian's returned from London. He's gone to see Chelsea and Taylor, who live in this apartment. Next door is Oliver Jr., Oliver Montrose Jr. So it's his way of connecting back with Oliver as well. So because he's not, you see, Sebastian started nursery school with Chelsea, so they've been childhood friends for years. So this is his chance to see her again, because the last time he saw her were at Christmas when he met Oliver, and it's also his chance of meeting Oliver again. So Sebastian has now got his bodyguards, and both he and his bodyguards are going to be staying with Oliver. So at this dinner party, it's just a get together for a catch up. But there is the conversation of Earl Westwood. The next day, they go to the duck pond in the big park in New York, Oliver and Sebastian. And Oliver has told him that Theo James has asked him to take some camera work trying to bring Earl Westwood down. They're trying to catch him in the act, basically, because Theo James wants to destroy him, and he wants to do it by reputation. And that's what he's doing. But he's not allowed to say anything, which he has done to Sebastian because it's society business. So Sebastian knows that Oliver is working for Theo James. Whilst Earl has been in London, Theo James has got one of his scriptwriters who is the double of Sebastian, called Eric, to play the Sebastian role. So basically, Earl's been concentrating on the wrong guy. He's been concentrating on Eric, not Sebastian. So it's kept Sebastian safe. So but Oliver has also been in London because he's been following Eric, you see, because he's in on it. So this is what all the conversation's about in the the park. And they're going to destroy Earl Westwood, but I won't say too much because it's in the book, but it's about, there's an history with Earl Westwood between Theo James' father, Octavian Stanley. And this is why it's brewed up. And John Brambilla, who owns Fierce Pictures, and then Theo James Miller, they're out to now destroy him by reputation. And that's what they're doing. So we mentioned Jack Dremming. Jack Dremming is an Earl Westwood's ex-lover. He is now got back with her, and he is wanting to destroy Sebastian. He's actually found out that Eric is playing Sebastian's role. So now he's left Earl, and he's going out now to get the real Sebastian. So the society are aware of this. So they send Sebastian to Switzerland with Howard Levy, and they put him on an assault course to learn how to use a gun.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Now, can you start to see, everybody, why you need to read all of the Dynasty series? Otherwise, you're not going to get this. These characters are evolving over the books. And talking about evolving, let's evolve and jump on to chapter 11. Again, this is full of drama. I'm talking about Martha is in hospital, a male cleaner. Well, she would have very strict security around her, and an unknown male cleaner is very suspicious. What's he doing there? And he's certainly not doing the cleaning. David becomes very suspicious, gets very alarmed about this. And we've got the events at the LA Boulevard Hospital, 30th of April, 1960. John Brambilla, here we go, an old character. What are these scenes about, and why have you put these, the narrative here, the storyline here, and is it relevant to the whole of the book?
It is. I mentioned just now about Jack Dremming realising that this Eric, who is not the true Sebastian, is being, placed with Earl Westwood to obviously to protect the real Sebastian. Well, Jack Dremming, because he's found out, he's after the real Sebastian. He knows Martha is hospitalized in London with her diabetes, and he's going to go and kill her. He wants to get rid of everything to do with Sebastian. So that's why he actually goes into the hospital as a cleaner. But Martha, as a regular cleaners, so she spots him and tells him to go, get out, you're not my cleaner. David realizes that could be Jack Drummond because remember, he's part of the society, he knows what's going on. So he calls John Bombella in America and tells him that Jack Drummond's being sighted. So John Bombella sends more men across to England to go looking for him. So this is it. So Martha and David are now in danger from Jack Drummond. So John Brambilla actually does up the security. So, and in this chapter as well, Earl's been arrested in Los Angeles because something happens at his house. I won't reveal all, and he's arrested. It involves two of John Brambilla's film producers, and John Brambilla's now going to kill him. So he's actually goes to the police station or police precinct, as they're called, and he demands that Westwood does not get released. He needs to stay in custody. But obviously the DA department, it's them who decide whether he stays in or not. But because John Brambilla is part of the society and close friends with Theo, they've got connections in DA, so they're going to keep him locked up. So it's all about revenge, this chapter. It's about Jack Drummond is wanting revenge on Sebastian. John Bombella wants revenge now for his film producers. So Oliver Montrose actually goes out then to Switzerland because he's being called by Theo James Miller, and Theo has told him that it's time for him to release the story in Good Morning Gazette, because through the other chapters, Oliver's managed to capture some photographs of Earl Westwood in an uncompromising position. So he's ready now to destroy him. So he gives Oliver the go-ahead to get his story into that Good Morning Gazette.
I told you she can write a good story, everybody. I told you. Now, I normally lead the question by saying what's giving you, the audience, a rough guidance to what's going to come in this chapter, because we're going to go to chapter 14. So I normally lead you in and give you a background before I then ask the author to tell us what's happening. And I'm not going to do it here. So this is chapter 14. AK, you tell us what's cracking off here.
Okay, right. Chapter 14, Oliver and Sebastian are back in London. And there's a small office in London of Conception magazine, because the big headquarters is in New York. So he goes visiting there late at night. But he calls in at the house of Sylvester because Philippe's partner, Jason, is working late, finishing his spring collection, his fashion collection, which is going to be shown in Paris and Milan. So he's trying to finish off the final drawings. But when Oliver appears, everything's fine. And then Jason goes to make coffee and is never seen again. And then something from the shadows emerges, and that's it. Oliver disappears.
And we'll leave it there for that one, everyone.
Well,
that's the suspense of chapter 14.
It
Now
is.
let's shuffle along to Fengate Market, East London, the 23rd
Yes.
of May 1960. It's 5 p.m. in the evening. Sebastian has given his bodyguards the slip. Uh-oh. The scene in flat 2 is quite gruesome. Whoever taught Sebastian to handle a gun has clearly done a very, very good job, everyone. He knows how to shoot. So, AK, what's the backdrop to the scenes here in chapter 16? And is this the start of you preparing us for the final dash to the finishing line?
It is. It is because Fengate Market is the area of the book where it like kind of comes to a conclusion basically, and Sebastian is looking for his Oliver. Um, Oliver's been missing now for a couple of days, and they they knew it was it's somewhere in Fengate Market, put it that way, because one of the Philippe's housekeeper went to the market and overheard somebody speaking. So she went back to Radiant's house and said, strange, two Americans, here, film and a designer and whatever. So um, Sebastian's like putting two and two together and coming up with four, and he knew his Oliver were there. So that's when Operation Go and Find Oliver happens in Fengate Market. And it's all to do with this flat number 2. Everything happens in this flat number 2. And if I reveal any more, then I'll give it all away.
You will, so you're not going to reveal it.
I'm not going to
Not going to
reveal it.
reveal anymore.
No.
So what we'll do is we'll now shuffle along to chapter 16. Chapter 18, the final chapter that we're going to look at.
Yeah.
We've got the scene here of a birth. We've got the Mariana Hotel, New York, a new pregnancy. Modeling days are over for somebody, but there's a new model on the horizon. This is a very, for me, I found a very different set of circumstances. And it's almost as if you're setting us up for the 4th book, if that's going to be coming out. So, and I'm starting to ask the question, somebody's got to be responsible for all these deaths and all these murders that are taking place in the book. And I'm starting to think, are you going to start to reveal who is responsible and what's happening with all these bodies in another book? Can you enlighten us as to what's going on in chapter 18? And am I right with my viewpoint here of you're setting us up for the next book?
Somewhere along the line, there will be a book containing this, yes. I don't know which order, because I've got the Heavenly Body series, hovering around at the minute. But basically, we mentioned Chelsea Nobleman, who is started at nursery school with Sebastian. And this is about her and Taylor. This is 1975. They're already married, and Chelsea is now having a baby. And they actually name it after Sebastian, Peter Sebastian, Peter Corr, they're going to call it. And it's like a finalization, because Oliver and Sebastian are godparents to this child. So, but earlier in the book, when he started the college in London, he met a girl over in his class called Sally Ribbicks. And Sally Ribbicks was, from a well-to-do family, but she had no idea of fashion. She'd be wearing yellow tights and blue skirts and, bullet bras and bleached her hair. And Sebastian was in despair with this. And so he said, he calls her Sally Darling. I will create a new you. So he does. He changes his style, everything. And he works with Philippe Aston Sylvester. and they create this absolutely beautiful supermodel called Demeter Rose. So Demeter Rose actually leaves college and she works for Philippe as the face of the House of Sylvester in the 1960s. We're talking 1975 here. So Sally's now, or Demeter Rose is now aging and she's pregnant. And she's married one of Sebastian's bodyguards who actually rescued her in a storyline further earlier in the book. He's wanting to be godfather to this child, which him and Oliver are. But she announces in this chapter that she's retiring. This was her last catwalk she was going to do. And it's like a conclusion, this. It's like the book is slowly dwindling down to its conclusions, and chapter 8 is a conclusion for Sally and for Chelsea. I was being through the book with Sebastian. And then obviously there's a couple more chapters which is more runs down into the final conclusion of the book.
Did you enjoy writing this book?
I did. Sebastian Dupont is my favourite character. I love Sebastian, and I don't know, it's kind of like you can feel him, you can see him. You know, when I'm writing, it's like he's there, and I absolutely adore him. He's fantastic.
And for me, Theo Templeton-Miller is the string. He's the he holds the whole series together.
He does. He
He's the
does.
powerhouse.
He's the powerhouse, and it all started in 1938 in London in the Banquet of Tranquility, and he's the powerhouse.
He is indeed. So, you've hinted that there might be a fourth book, but
Yes.
we have to wait for that one because you're working on your revamping and also writing your next book on your children's series, the Lily Everly series.
Yes.
And she'll be giving me an interview on that one, everybody. Don't you worry. We've got that planned. But who do you see as your market? Who do you want to see reading your books?
Oh, different genders of people, really. I mean, Sebastian, obviously, it's not your normal occurrence of a love story. The Sebastian book is about a young male who's locked in a time period where they're not allowed to reveal the sexuality. And, when they get into the 70s, it's still strict in some states, but some states they could marry. So the victorium of it, the victory for him is to be with his Oliver, where he doesn't have to hide. He can be free, and they can walk hand in hand. So for me, to hit that genre of people is fantastic. I want them to love Sebastian like I love Sebastian. And, and it's like, females as well to love Sebastian the way I love Sebastian. So it's an open genre, this. It's for everyone.
So where can people get your books from?
They can get them from Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Waterstones, or your major bookshops around the world.
And your webpage?
And yes, you can get them on my webpage as well. Yes.
Which is?
K Cooper-Elliot.com.
Indeed it is, everyone. AK, I have to say, having interviewed you for the entire Temple-Milton Dynasty Series, it's wonderful. And we have a lot of banter on and off the screens. And, we just have for me, it's a great working relationship,
It is.
which I hold very dear.
Yes.
And we will have more for you, everybody. But I just want to say to K Cooper-Elliot, for the time being, thank you very, very much for coming on my show today.
Yes. Thank you, John, for having me.
So, thanks for listening wherever you're in the world. Until next time, stay safe.